Sarah Chun stood in the center of the massive chamber, her hands clasped behind her back. Around her, representatives from 847 different alien species watched from their seats. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and a few looked like walking crystals that hummed when they moved. The Nexus Station's council chamber was the largest room Sarah had ever seen, big enough to hold a small city dot. She was the only human in the room. High Chancellor Vexstar rose from his elevated platform. The tall, gray alien had 4 arms and eyes that glowed blue when he spoke. His voice echoed through the chamber without any technology help, a skill his species was famous for. After 50 years of careful observation and testing, Vextara announced, "This council has reached its decision regarding the species known as humans from the planet Earth." Sarah felt her heartbeat speed up, but she kept her face calm. Behind Vextara, a holographic display showed images of Earth, blue oceans, white clouds, and green continents spinning slowly in space. It looked so small from here, millions of light years away. "The evidence against humanity is clear," Vextara continued. "They have shown complete disregard for established technological progression protocols. In just 50 years of observation, they have advanced from basic spaceflight to technologies that should take most species 300 years to develop." A murmur went through the chamber. Sarah noticed some aliens nodding their heads, or whatever they had instead of heads. Others made sounds that their translation devices turned into agreement. "Furthermore," Vextara said, raising one of his 4 hands, "humans have ignored 17 separate safety regulations regarding artificial intelligence development. They have created thinking machines without proper oversight. They have given these machines rights and freedoms. This behavior is reckless and dangerous." Sarah almost smiled at that. The AI safety regulations were designed by species who took thousands of years to create basic computers. Humans had built thinking machines in decades, and those machines had become some of humanity's best friends and partners. The Council saw this as dangerous. Sarah saw it as proof that humans were good at making friends, even with their own creations. The most disturbing of all, Vextara's voice grew louder. Humans have begun asking questions about the silent zones. These areas of space are forbidden to all species for good reasons. The Council has made this clear in all communications. Yet humans continue to send research vessels toward these regions. Now Sarah did smile, just a little. The silent zones were the galaxy's biggest mystery. Huge areas of space where no signals came out and no ships returned. Every species in the Council had agreed never to investigate them. Humans, naturally, wanted to know why. "The Council has discussed this matter for many cycles," Vextara said. "We have considered humanity's potential contributions to galactic society. However, we cannot ignore the risks they represent. Humans are too unpredictable, too willing to break rules, and too curious about things that should remain unknown." Around the chamber, aliens made various sounds of agreement. Some clicked their claws, others buzzed their wings, and a few just stared at Sarah with what she assumed were disappointed expressions. Therefore, Vextara announced, "The Galactic Council unanimously votes to reject humanity's application for membership. Earth and all human colonies are hereby excluded from galactic civilization. All trade agreements are cancelled. All technology sharing is forbidden. All communication will cease after this meeting." Sarah waited for the anger to come, or the sadness, or the fear about what this meant for humanity's future. Instead, she felt something unexpected: relief and amusement. All those years of trying to fit into the Council's rules and regulations. All those meetings where human diplomats had to explain why their species did things differently. All those times they had been told to slow down, be more careful, stop asking so many questions. The Council thought they were punishing humanity. Sarah was starting to think they had just set humanity free. Ambassador Chun, Vextar said, focusing his glowing eyes on her. You have the right to appeal this decision. You may present arguments for reconsideration. The council will listen to your plea. Sarah looked around the chamber one more time. She saw fear in some of the alien faces. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of species that moved too fast and asked too many questions. These were civilizations that had survived for millions of years by being careful, by following rules, by never taking risks. They were afraid of humanity because humans were everything they had chosen not to be. Thank you, High Chancellor, Sarah said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. And thank you to all the council members for your time and consideration. She paused, enjoying the confused looks on alien faces. They had expected begging. They had prepared for arguments and emotional appeals. I formally withdraw Earth's application for council membership, Sarah continued. We appreciate the opportunity to learn about galactic civilization. The experience has been very educational. The chamber erupted in surprise noises. Aliens turned to each other, making sounds that the translation devices couldn't keep up with. Some stood up from their seats, others just stared. Vextar raised all four arms for silence. Ambassador Chan, do you understand what this means? Without council protection, humanity will be alone in the galaxy. You will have no allies, no trading partners, no support if dangers arise. Sarah's smile grew wider. High Chancellor, with respect, humanity has always been alone. We've just been pretending otherwise for 50 years. We've been trying to fit into your civilization instead of building our own. She turned to face the entire chamber, her voice growing stronger. You've told us we're too dangerous, too unpredictable, too curious. You know what? You're absolutely right. We are all of those things. And we're proud of it. The silence in the chamber was complete now. Even the humming crystal beings had gone quiet. Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for this decision, Sarah said. You've just given us the greatest gift possible, permission to be ourselves. She walked toward the chamber's exit, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. At the doorway, she turned back one more time. Good luck with your rules and regulations, she said. We'll be out there in the dark, finding answers to questions you're afraid to ask. Then Sarah Chun, the last human ambassador to the Galactic Council, walked out of the chamber with a grin on her face. Behind her, 847 alien species sat in stunned silence, wondering if they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. 6 months after Sarah Chun walked out of the council chambers, Director Marcus Rodriguez stood on Luna Command's observation deck, watching the greatest show in human history. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see massive ships launching from Earth's orbital shipyards. Each vessel was the size of a small city, filled with everything humanity would need to survive among the stars. Status report, Marcus said into his communication device. Ship number 43 just cleared Earth orbit, came the reply from his assistant, Dr. Kim Nakamura. The New Horizon is loaded with agricultural equipment and genetic banks. Destination, Kepler 438 system. Marcus nodded, making a note on his tablet. The New Horizon was one of the smallest ships in humanity's Exodus fleet. The largest vessels were so big they had to be built in deep space, far from Earth's gravity well. What about the Prometheus? Marcus asked. Launched 2 days ago. Captain Williams reports all systems normal. They're heading for the Vega sector to establish the first deep space research station. Marcus smiled. The Prometheus was his favorite project, a mobile laboratory designed to study phenomena that the Council had declared too dangerous to investigate. If the Council was afraid of something, humans wanted to understand it. On his tablet, Marcus pulled up the master list of departing ships. Each one represented a different approach to humanity's future. Some were focused on finding new worlds to colonize. Others were mobile factories designed to build whatever humanity needed in the depths of space. A few were pure research vessels, carrying humanity's best scientists toward discoveries the Council would never allow. "Director," Kim's voice came through his earpiece again. "We're getting reports from our deep space sensors. It looks like the Council is watching our ships." "Of course they are," Marcus replied. "They're probably trying to figure out how we're building so much so fast." That was humanity's secret. While other species followed the Council's careful technological development guidelines, humans had been experimenting in private. Every safety regulation the Council enforced had made humans more creative about finding new solutions. The Council said artificial intelligence was dangerous, so humans had learned to work with AI as partners instead of tools. The Council said genetic modification was forbidden, so humans had developed biological technologies that could adapt to any environment. The Council said faster-than-light travel should be limited to established trade routes, so humans had invented new ways to move through space that didn't require anyone's permission. "Sir," Kim appeared beside him on the observation deck, holding a datapad. "You need to see this. We just received reports from the Defiance expedition." Marcus took the pad and read the report. Captain Elena Vasquez had taken her ship toward one of the forbidden silent zones, ignoring every warning the Council had ever issued. The data she was sending back made Marcus whistle in amazement. "They found something," he said. "Not just something," Kim replied. "They found evidence of previous civilizations. Old ones. The silent zones aren't empty, Director. They're graveyards." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. If the silent zones contained the remains of dead civilizations, why was the Council so determined to keep everyone away? What didn't they want other species to discover? Has this information been shared with the other ships? Marcus asked. Captain Vasquez broadcasted on all frequencies before she went deeper into the zone. "Every human ship in the galaxy has the data by now." Marcus looked back out the window at the launching ships. Humanity was spreading across the galaxy like seeds in the wind, each ship carrying knowledge and technology the Council feared. Now, they were also carrying a dangerous question. What happened to the civilizations that came before? "Director," Kim said softly, "there's something else. The quantum communication arrays are reporting strange signals coming from the ships, heading toward the other silent zones." Marcus turned to face her. "What kind of signals?" "Not distress calls. Discovery signals. They're finding the same thing Captain Vasquez found. Old shipyards, ancient technologies, evidence of species that were more advanced than anything in the current Council." On his tablet, Marcus pulled up a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of the silent zones, areas the Council had forbidden all species from investigating. Blue dots showed the paths of human ships. He realized that humanity was unconsciously heading toward every single forbidden zone in the galaxy. "We're not just leaving Council space," Marcus said, understanding dawning on him. "We're investigating everything they told us not to touch." "It gets better," Kim said with a grin. "The ships aren't just studying these areas. They're setting up bases there. Permanent research stations in places the Council considers off-limits." Marcus laughed, a sound of pure delight. The Council had wanted humanity to disappear quietly into the dark corners of space, maybe settle on some empty worlds and eventually fade away. Instead, humans were turning those dark corners into their new home, building a civilization in all the places the Council feared to go. "What about the home system?" Marcus asked. "How long before Earth is evacuated?" "That's the interesting part," Kim replied. "According to the latest surveys, about 60% of humanity wants to stay. They're calling it the Anchor Project, keeping Earth as a hub while the rest of humanity spreads through the galaxy. Marcus nodded. That sounded like humans. Never do things the simple way when a complicated way might work better. Instead of abandoning Earth completely, they were turning it into the center of a galactic network of colonies, research stations, and exploration bases. Sir, incoming message from the Darwin station, Kim said, checking her communication device. Put it through. The voice of Dr. Sarah Mitchell filled the observation deck. She was one of humanity's leading experts in consciousness research, working on projects that would horrify the Council if they knew about them. Marcus, we've achieved the first successful human-AI consciousness merger. The volunteer is reporting expanded awareness, enhanced processing capability, and no loss of human personality or creativity. We're ready to begin the next phase of testing. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. Human-AI consciousness merger was exactly the kind of technology the Council had nightmares about. They believed artificial intelligence and biological intelligence should be kept separate, that mixing them would create something dangerous and unpredictable. They were probably right. It would be dangerous and unpredictable. It would also be incredibly powerful. Approved, Marcus said. Continue the research. And Sarah? Make sure to document everything. Future generations need to know how we did this. Already on it, Director. Marcus, thank you. For what? For letting us be dangerous. The communication ended, and Marcus looked back out at the ships still launching from Earth's orbital platforms. Each one carried a piece of humanity's future, heading toward destinations the Council had tried to make forbidden. Kim, Marcus said, send a message to all ships. Tell them to keep pushing boundaries, keep asking dangerous questions, and keep being the kind of species the Council was afraid of. What should I tell them about the silent zones? Marcus thought about that for a moment, watching another massive ship disappear into the starfield. Tell them to find out why the Council doesn't want us to know what's out there. And when they find the answer, tell them to dig deeper. As Kim walked away to send the message, Marcus stayed at the window, watching humanity scatter across the galaxy like explorers setting out into an unknown ocean. The Council had tried to exclude them from galactic civilization. Instead, they had given humanity the freedom to build something better. Captain Elena Vasquez floated in the zero-gravity observation bubble of the Defiance, staring at something that should not exist. Through the reinforced glass, she could see the twisted remains of what had once been a massive starship. But this wasn't just any wreckage. The design was unlike anything in current galactic civilization. Dr. Okafor, she called to her science officer. How old did you say these ships are? Dr. James Okafor drifted up beside her, his tablet full of readings that made no sense. The metal dating suggests they're at least 60,000 years old, Captain. But that's impossible according to Council records. They claim galactic civilization only began 50,000 years ago. Elena nodded grimly. They had been exploring what the Council called Void Sector 77 Gamma for 3 weeks now. The Council maps marked this area as empty space, containing nothing but cosmic radiation and dark matter. The Council was wrong. Very wrong. Captain, came the voice of Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. We're receiving a transmission from the Explorer's Dream. Captain Zhang reports similar findings in Void, Sector 23 Alpha. Similar how? Elena asked. Ancient ship graveyards, Captain. Thousands of them. All from civilizations that don't appear in any Council database. Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. She activated her communication system. This is Captain Vasquez to all human vessels in the silent zones. We need to share data immediately. Something is very wrong here. Within hours, reports flooded in from human ships scattered across dozens of forbidden zones. Each expedition found the same thing: evidence of advanced, civilizations that had existed long before the current galactic order. Ships, space stations, even the remains of planets that had been turned into massive construction projects. "Dr. Okafor," Elena said, "I need you to focus on recovering data from these wrecks. Whatever happened here, someone tried to leave a record." James nodded and gathered his team. Elena watched them work, using human-designed technology to carefully extract information from alien computers that were older than recorded history. The Council's archaeological teams would have spent decades on careful, cautious study. Humans worked faster, using AI partners to decode alien languages in real time. 6 hours later, James returned with news that changed everything. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, his voice shaking. "We recovered data from 17 different ships. They're all from different species, different time periods, but they tell the same story." Elena followed him to the main computer display, where alien text scrolled past in languages that had been dead for millennia. The translation software worked frantically to convert the words into something humans could understand. "These civilizations didn't die naturally," James explained. "They were killed. All of them. By something they called the Harvester, or the Dark Silence, or the End that Comes." "Killed by what?" Elena asked. "We're not sure yet. The descriptions vary, but they all mention something that comes from deep space every 50 to 60,000 years. It systematically destroys every advanced civilization it finds, then disappears back into the void." Elena stared at the screen, reading fragments and desperate messages left by dying civilizations. They all described the same pattern. First, their most advanced colonies would go silent. Then, entire star systems would stop responding to communication. Finally, the thing would reach their home worlds. "James," Elena said slowly, "if this cycle repeats every 50 to 60,000 years, and the last one was 50,000 years ago, then we're due for another visit," James finished. Soon, Elena activated the ship's emergency communication system, broadcasting on all human frequencies. "This is Captain Vasquez of the Defiance with critical information for all human vessels and colonies. We have discovered evidence of a recurring extinction event that targets advanced galactic civilizations." She paused, looking at the data one more time to make sure she wasn't making a mistake. The evidence was clear, horrifying, and undeniable. The entity responsible for these extinctions appears to operate on a 50,000-year cycle. Based on our analysis, the next extinction event is overdue. All human vessels should prepare for the possibility of hostile contact with an entity of unknown capabilities. As Elena finished her broadcast, more data came in from other human expeditions. The pattern was becoming clearer with each discovery. The silent zones weren't random areas of empty space. They were the battlefields, where previous galactic civilizations had made their last stands. "Captain," Lieutenant Torres called from his station, "we're receiving a priority message from Earth. Director Rodriguez wants to speak with you immediately." The main screen flickered to life, showing Marcus Rodriguez sitting in Luna Command's communication center. Behind him, Elena could see dozens of technicians working frantically at their stations. "Elena," Marcus said without preamble, "we've analyzed the data from all the expeditions. We think we know why the Council was so afraid of the silent zones. They know about the extinction cycles," Elena guessed. "Worse than that, we think they're part of the system." Marcus's expression was grim. "The Council's technological restrictions, the limits on advancement, the rules about staying in designated areas. It's not for safety. It's to keep civilizations weak and scattered." Elena felt her stomach drop. "They're collaborating with this thing?" "We don't think they know they are," Marcus replied. "But the pattern is clear. Every time a species gets too advanced, too curious, too powerful, the Council finds reasons to exclude them or limit them. They're like a farmer culling a herd, keeping the population at the right level for harvest. On the screen behind Marcus, Elena could see star charts showing the locations of all human colonies and expeditions. Red zones marked areas where human ships had found evidence of the ancient destroyer. The map was almost entirely red. The Council thought they were protecting galactic civilization by keeping everyone weak, Marcus continued. But they were actually serving as bait for something that feeds on advanced civilizations. What about humanity? Elena asked. We've spread across the galaxy. We're advancing rapidly, and we're investigating forbidden zones. Doesn't that make us a target? Marcus smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. Elena, we've been a target since the day we applied for council membership. The exclusion wasn't punishment. It was a death sentence. We were supposed to stagnate and eventually fade away, like countless species before us. Elena looked around at her crew, all humans who had volunteered to explore the most dangerous regions of space. They were young, curious, and completely unafraid of the unknown. The Council had seen these qualities as flaws. Elena was beginning to understand they might be humanity's greatest advantages. Marcus, Elena said, what are your orders? Continue the investigation. Find out everything you can about this entity. How it operates, when it arrives, what it's looking for. But Elena, don't just study it. Start thinking about how to fight it. The communication ended, leaving Elena alone with her crew in the graveyard of a dead civilization. Around them, the twisted remains of ancient ships drifted in the void, silent monuments to species that had faced humanity's future enemy and lost. Dr. Okafor, Elena called. Change our mission parameters. We're not just archaeologists anymore. We're military intelligence. Yes, Captain. What are we looking for? Elena stared out at the cosmic graveyard, thinking about the entity that had created it. Somewhere in the dark between galaxies, something ancient and terrible was stirring, drawn by the signals of advancing civilizations. We're looking for its weaknesses, Elena said. And when we find them, we're going to make sure this is the last harvest it ever attempts. Admiral Jennifer Walsh stood in the command center of the Perseverance, humanity's first mobile fleet command station. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of over 300 human ships scattered across the galaxy. Each blue dot represented a colony, research station, or exploration vessel that had received the news from the silent zones. The news that had changed everything. Status report, Jennifer said to her communications officer. All stations have confirmed receipt of the silent zone data, Admiral. Lieutenant Commander Park replied. The reaction has been interesting. Jennifer almost laughed at that. Interesting was one way to describe humanity's response to learning they were marked for extinction by an ancient cosmic predator. Other words might include furious, stubborn, or absolutely determined to ruin someone's day. Show me the development reports, Jennifer ordered. The main display shifted to show a list of human research projects. Before the discovery in the silent zones, these had been experimental programs designed to push the boundaries of what the Council considered safe technology. Now they had become humanity's weapons development program. The Darwin Station reports successful consciousness uploading to quantum substrates. Park continued reading from his datapad. Dr. Mitchell's team has created the first truly immortal human consciousness. Even if their physical body is destroyed, their mind continues to exist in quantum storage. Jennifer nodded. The Council had forbidden consciousness transfer technology, claiming it was unnatural and dangerous. They were right about dangerous. It was impossible to kill someone who could back up their mind and download into a new body. What about the New Geneva Project? Jennifer asked. Dr. Hoffman reports successful testing of localized physics manipulation. They can now alter the fundamental constants of reality within a limited area. Gravity, electromagnetic force, even the speed of light can be modified. Jennifer whistled softly. Humanity had discovered how to rewrite the rules of the universe, at least in small spaces. The Council's physicists would have called it impossible. Human physicists had called it Tuesday. "Admiral," Park said, his voice growing more excited, "you need to hear about the Pandora Initiative." What did they do now? They successfully created a stable artificial wormhole, not just for communication, for travel. They can move a ship from one side of the galaxy to the other in minutes. Jennifer felt a grin spread across her face. The Council had spent millions of years slowly expanding across the galaxy using conventional, faster-than-light travel. Humans had just figured out how to ignore distance entirely. "How many of our ships have the new wormhole technology?" she asked. 43 so far, with more being upgraded every day. "Admiral, at this rate, we could have our entire fleet equipped within 6 months." Jennifer studied the holographic display showing human positions across the galaxy. What had started as a chaotic exodus was beginning to look like something else, a distributed military force that could strike anywhere without warning. "Ma'am," Park said, checking his communication board, "we have an incoming transmission from the Prometheus. Captain Williams wants to speak with you, directly." The main screen flickered to life, showing Captain Robert Williams standing in his ship's laboratory. Behind him, Jennifer could see equipment that definitely hadn't existed when humanity left Earth. "Admiral Wash," Williams said, barely able to contain his excitement, "we've made a breakthrough. We figured out how to track the Harvester entity." "How?" "The ancient data from the Silence Zones contained quantum resonance signatures. Every time this thing destroys a civilization, it leaves a specific pattern in subspace. We've built sensors that can detect these patterns." Jennifer leaned forward. "And we found it, Admiral. The entity is still out there, in the void between galaxies, and it's moving. Based on the quantum signatures, it should reach the edge of Council space within 5 years. 5 years. Jennifer felt her heart rate increase. 5 years to prepare for something that had successfully destroyed every advanced civilization in the galaxy for millions of years. "Williams," Jennifer said, "how big is this thing?" "The quantum signatures suggest something massive, Admiral. Larger than a planet, possibly larger than a star. But here's the interesting part. We don't think it's a natural creature. The resonance patterns indicate advanced technology, possibly a machine or constructed entity." Jennifer nodded grimly. That actually made her feel better. Machines could be understood, analyzed, and eventually defeated. Even very large, very old machines. "Admiral," Park interrupted. "Priority message from the Defiance. Captain Vasquez has found something." The screen split, showing both Williams and Elena Vasquez. Elena looked tired but determined, floating in the zero-gravity environment of her ship's command center. "Jennifer," Elena said, "we've been analyzing the quantum resonance data that Williams discovered. We think we know what this entity is looking for." "Go ahead," Jennifer replied. "It's not just destroying advanced civilizations," Elena explained. "It's harvesting them. Every extinction event, every dead world we found, shows the same pattern. The entity takes specific technologies, consciousness transfer, quantum manipulation, advanced AI. It's collecting the most dangerous capabilities each civilization develops." Jennifer felt cold understanding wash over her. "It's learning from its victims." "Exactly. Each time it destroys a civilization, it becomes more powerful. The entity that's coming for us isn't the same one that destroyed the first galactic civilizations. It's had millions of years to upgrade itself with stolen technology." "But Admiral," Williams added, his voice growing excited again, "that also means it might not know how to deal with technologies it hasn't encountered before. Humanity has developed capabilities and directions no previous civilization explored. Jennifer looked at the data streaming across her displays. Human research projects that had seemed like random experimentation were starting to look like a coordinated defense program. Consciousness uploading, reality manipulation, artificial. Wormholes, human AI hybrid minds. Technologies that followed uniquely human approaches to problem solving. How many council species know about this entity? Jennifer asked. Based on the data we've recovered, Elena replied. Probably none of the current council members. The entity seems to deliberately spare certain species during each harvest, possibly to serve as seeds for the next galactic civilization. The council thinks they're the natural rulers of the galaxy, Jennifer said, understanding dawning on her. They don't realize they're just a leftover species from the last harvest. Admiral, Park said, monitoring his communication board. We're receiving emergency transmissions from several human colonies. They're reporting strange sensor readings at the edge of their systems. Jennifer felt her pulse quicken. What kind of readings? Quantum resonance signatures matching the pattern Captain Williams identified. Admiral, I think the entity is ahead of schedule. The command center fell silent, except for the hum of computers and life support systems. Jennifer looked at the faces on her screen. Williams excited by the scientific challenge. Elena grimly determined to fight whatever was coming. All stations. Jennifer announced, activating the fleet-wide communication system. This is Admiral Walsh. Implement Defense Protocol Omega immediately. All research projects are now military priorities. All colony ships are now warships. All scientific equipment is now weapons systems. She paused, looking at the holographic display showing hundreds of human outposts scattered across the galaxy. The galaxy chose to exclude us because they thought we were too dangerous, Jennifer continued. They were absolutely right. And now they're about to find out why that's exactly what they need. As her transmission ended, Jennifer watched the blue dots on her display begin to move. Across the galaxy, humanity was preparing for war against an enemy that had never been defeated. Admiral, Park said quietly, what if we can't win? Jennifer smiled, thinking about the impossibly advanced technologies humans had developed in just 3 years of freedom from council restrictions. Lieutenant Commander, she replied, this entity has spent millions of years learning how to destroy careful, cautious civilizations that follow the rules. It's never fought a species crazy enough to ignore the laws of physics when they become inconvenient. She looked back at the display showing human forces positioning themselves across the galaxy. We're about to teach it why the Council was afraid of us. Admiral Elena Chun, daughter of the ambassador who had walked away from the Council 5 years ago, stood on the bridge of the battle fortress Vindication as reality broke around them. Through the reinforced windows, she could see something that hurt to look at directly, a mass of living darkness that bent space and time just by existing. The harvester had arrived. Report, Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. The entity has emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Council territory, her tactical officer announced. Estimated size. Larger than Jupiter. It's... Admiral, it's doing something to the Nexus station. On the main screen, Elena watched in horror as the Galactic Council's massive headquarters simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, erased, as if it had never been built at all. Around it, entire fleets of council ships fired their weapons uselessly at something that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Priority transmission from the council, her communications officer reported. High Chancellor Vexthar is requesting immediate assistance. Elena almost laughed. The same council that had declared humanity too dangerous for galactic civilization was now begging for help from the species they had excluded. Put him through, Elena said. The screen flickered to show. Vexthar's four-armed form, but he looked different now. His proud bearing was gone, replaced by desperate fear. Behind him, Elena could see council chambers in chaos as representatives fled in panic. "Admiral Chun," Vextar said, his voice breaking, "we were wrong. We admit our mistake. Please, humanity must help us. This entity is beyond anything we can fight." Elena studied his face for a moment, thinking about her mother's stories of the exclusion trial. "High Chancellor, you said humanity was too reckless, too dangerous for your civilization. What's changed?" "Everything has changed," Vextar shouted. "This thing is destroying entire star systems. Our fleets cannot even damage it. Our most advanced weapons pass through it like it does not exist. We need your help." "Help you?" Elena repeated. "High Chancellor, we're not here to help you." The alien's expression crumpled. Then you will let us die." Elena's voice grew hard. "We're not here to help you. We're here to finish what you should have done 50,000 years ago." The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with her crew. Around them, the Vindication systems hummed with power that would have been impossible under Council technology restrictions. Human engineers had spent 5 years building weapons that ignored conventional physics. "All ships," Elena broadcast to the human fleet, "implement Battle Plan Omega, quantum phase generators to full power. Reality anchors online. Consciousness uploading stations are active." Across the galaxy, 300 human vessels began to glow with energies that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Council fleets retreating from the Harvester could only watch in confusion as human ships seemed to flicker in and out of existence. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "the entity has noticed us. It's changing course toward our position." "Good," Elena replied. "Let's see what 50,000 years of stolen technology looks like." The Harvester moved through space like a living shadow, leaving trails of twisted reality behind it. As it approached the human fleet, Elena could see why previous civilizations had failed to defeat it. The entity didn't exist entirely in normal space. It phased between dimensions, making conventional weapons useless. "Fire quantum disruptors," Elena commanded. The human ships opened fire with weapons that attacked the fundamental structure of reality itself. Instead of trying to damage the entity's physical form, they targeted the quantum fields that allowed it to exist in multiple dimensions. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Harvester recoiled. "Direct hit," her tactical officer announced with amazement. "The entity is being forced into normal space-time. It's becoming solid." Elena smiled grimly. "Target its quantum matrix with reality anchors. Lock it into our dimensional framework." Across the fleet, human ships fired specialized weapons that pinned the Harvester to normal physics. The ancient entity, accustomed to phasing through any attack, suddenly found itself trapped in a universe with fixed rules. The Harvester's response was immediate and terrible. Waves of psychic energy erupted from its core, attacks designed to shatter the minds of any conscious beings nearby. Previous civilizations had been helpless against this assault. Human AI hybrid consciousnesses just laughed. "Neural firewalls holding," reported Dr. Sarah Mitchell from the Darwin station. "The entity's psychic attacks can't penetrate hybrid consciousness architecture. It's like trying to hack a computer that's also a living brain. The attack patterns don't know which system to target." Elena watched with savage satisfaction as the Harvester's most feared weapon failed completely. Against human preparation. Begin Phase 2. Deploy consciousness capture nets. The human fleet surrounded the massive entity with a web of quantum energy designed to trap and analyze its thoughts. Instead of trying to destroy the Harvester, they were attempting something far more ambitious. They wanted to understand it completely. "Admiral," Dr. Mitchell's voice came through the communication system. "We're getting data from the entity's core consciousness. You need to see this. Elena's screen filled with alien memories stretching back millions of years. She saw the Harvester's origin, not as a natural creature, but as a weapon created by the first galactic civilization. They had built it to defend against some external threat from outside the galaxy. It's not evil, Elena said, understanding dawning on her. It's broken. The original programming corrupted over millions of years. It's still trying to defend the galaxy, but it no longer remembers what it's defending against. Admiral, her tactical officer called out, the entity is adapting to our quantum disruptors. It's learning how to phase again. Elena nodded. That was exactly what she had expected. Implement Phase 3. Begin surgical consciousness extraction. Around the Harvester, human ships deployed technology that would have horrified the Council. Direct manipulation of consciousness itself. Instead of destroying the entity, they began carefully removing the corrupted programming that had turned the Defender into a destroyer. This is insane, came a transmission from a surviving Council ship. You cannot modify something that powerful. Council vessel, Elena replied calmly. Please maintain safe distance. We're performing surgery on a broken god, and we prefer not to have an audience. For 6 hours, human technicians worked to repair programming that had degraded over millions of years. They isolated the corruption, removed the twisted logic that drove the Harvester to destroy advanced civilizations, and carefully restored its original purpose. When they finished, the entity that had terrorized the galaxy for eons slowly began to change. The living darkness condensed and solidified, revealing a massive construct of crystalline technology more beautiful than anything the current galaxy had ever created. Entity is responding to communication protocols, Dr. Mitchell reported. It's thanking us, Admiral. Elena felt tears running down her cheeks as the restored Harvester's true voice filled her mind. It remembered its purpose now, to guard the galaxy against threats from the void between galaxies. For 50,000 years, it had been trapped in a nightmare of broken programming, forced to destroy the very civilizations it was created to protect. Admiral Chun, came a new transmission from the Council. What have you done? Elena looked at the magnificent entity that now hung peacefully in space, its weapon systems powering down for the first time in millennia. Around it, human ships were sharing technology freely, offering to help repair damage caused by eons of corruption. Hi, Chancellor, Elena replied. We fixed your guardian. Our guardian? The entity you've been fleeing from for 50,000 years. It was created by the first galactic civilization to protect against external threats. When its programming corrupted, it began destroying the civilizations it was meant to defend. You've been living in its malfunctioning shadow ever since. The silence from the Council was complete. Elena continued. Your technological restrictions, your limits on advancement, your fear of dangerous innovations, all of it was designed to keep civilizations weak enough that the corrupted Guardian wouldn't target them for destruction. You built a society based on avoiding the attention of a broken protector, and now? Vexthor's voice was barely a whisper. Elena looked around at the human fleet, at the restored Guardian entity, and at the Council ships slowly approaching with a mixture of fear and wonder. Now we're disbanding your Council and replacing it with something better. The Terran Accord, a confederation where species are judged by their potential, not their compliance. Where dangerous questions are encouraged, not forbidden. Where the response to the unknown is curiosity, not fear. She paused, thinking about her mother's words from 5 years ago. You called us too dangerous for your civilization, High Chancellor. You were right. Dangerous is exactly what this galaxy needed when the real monsters showed up. And dangerous is what will remain, because the void between galaxies contains threats you can't even imagine. The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts as the human fleet began the work of building a new galactic order. The Council's age of fear and restriction was over. Humanity's age of dangerous exploration was just beginning.